Hi people, it's me again, obviously, Moreno Ravenberg. Yeah, it's game time again. As you can tell based on the header, as always, and as usual, I'm going to discuss magical errors. Now, anything else of interest, specifically the article that corresponds to this video, that this video will be embedded in, as always, and as usual, you can find it linked in the description, as well as the end screen, you know the drill, the usual blah blah yada yada, in a matter of speaking. Now, I'm going to read from my own article and then elaborate on it. Now, Happy New Year in advance, same thing. Now, let's get down to business. Most practitioners have heard of this phrase, as well as uttering or having uttered it themselves. They wonder what spirit, spell, pinnacle, or otherwise technique they should utilize towards an objective, which is all fine and dandy until it doesn't work, and then they blame the technique. Something I've told several people when it came up in conversation: it doesn't matter which of the aforementioned you use for esoteric or occult success, on the condition that they produce the same outcome. It's about you. Too many mages and related, so to speak, make the awful mistake of doing things like replacing a spirit assigned to a task in favor of something or someone else, substituting a manner of working when they don't see results after only a brief amount of time, etc. These are borderline offensive errors. It's never their fault. It's always the technique's fault. The technique or entity in question isn't strong enough or doesn't work quickly enough, and so on. Taking everything I've stated up to this point into account, and provided that everything else is in order or place, guess what? You, practitioner, are the issue, not the one or implement you're utilizing. You can switch up as many things as you would like. The outcome will still be the same, more or less, generally speaking. Now, do not misunderstand me. If you're not getting satisfactory results, you're well within your rights to make adjustments as need be. I'm saying nothing will help if you're lacking in the strength or skill department. You can work with 21 spirits, 5 pentacles, and so on. Results will be little to nothing. Think of it as follows. You're a cup. Do you think it matters what kind of water you fill yourself up with? No. You'll only be able to take as much water as you can handle. Now, I know I haven't discussed this specifically the way I'm discussing it up to this point. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done this article / video and vice versa, obviously. So yeah, I'm going to try to keep things short as usual. Other than what I said in the article, which is pretty much self-explanatory, I'm going to elaborate on this in a freestyle fashion. And this is specifically for practitioners, although obviously, as always and as usual, anyone is welcome to watch this, honestly, to put it that way. But specifically for practitioners, I've heard it all, so to speak, as well as literally up to a considerable extent or degree, or similar, that for example, hey, this spirit isn't strong enough, I'm not getting great results, etc., etc., etc. They never point the finger at themselves as in, hey, maybe I'm not, skilled enough or strong enough or anything like that. No, it doesn't matter. They work with 12 spirits thinking that, hey, things are gonna go better if I work with more spirits, as in, hey, I assign like 3 spirits to one task. I'm not getting enough money, so I think this spirit doesn't have enough juice, so to speak, so I need to like juice this puppy up a little and add 2 or 3 more spirits just so that things will go better. No, that's definitely not recommended, generally speaking. Now, like I said, don't get me wrong. If, for example, you're working with the spirit, or you're working with any kind of magical technique or utilizing it, and you're simply not getting satisfactory results, you're not getting what you're supposed to be getting, and it turns out that the spirit and your objectives as well as you are, generally speaking, not compatible enough, or incompatible, or something unexpected happens, then it's completely understandable. It's not the spirit's fault still. It's simply a misconfiguration or incompatibility, if you will. So fine, you simply thank the spirit, or you drop whatever technique, simply put, in a matter of speaking, you were occupied with or involved with or in, and you move on. You find a suitable solution. But honestly, I would have asked you, if you had told me something like that, why didn't you take a look at everything in advance, so that you knew in advance before you started working with that spirit that, hey, we're incompatible, things aren't really going to work, or things aren't going to pan out for due to miscellaneous conditions and circumstances, so for miscellaneous reasons. But generally speaking, people are too tempted to simply, it's not a good mentality. to point the finger at the technique in question. As the saying goes, blame the player, not the game. And generally speaking, you need to point the finger at yourself if you're a practitioner. You're not skilled enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. Generally speaking, you are the catalyst. When it comes to that statement, it's not generally speaking, you are the catalyst, period. Everything begins and ends with you regarding your magical practice. You're at the center of everything and anything. So if something is up, you either have to deal with it or you are the problem. Not that it's your fault or anything like that. The concept of it being your fault doesn't apply. But you are the problem, bluntly put. So you need to point the finger at yourself. And just like I said at the end, think about it. Think of it as a cup. Okay, the same way that I have a drinking glass here. And I, for example, this can, for example, take 300 milliliters of anything I put in it, any liquid. And I want 500 milliliters. It doesn't matter what kind of liquid I choose, generally speaking, in a matter of speaking. Doesn't matter whether I put Coke in this, whether I put Pepsi in this, whether I put lemonade in this juice. It does not matter. It can only take as much liquid, regardless or irregardless of the liquid, as it can handle. So within this metaphor, if you're a practitioner, then you're this drinking glass, you're this glass. It doesn't matter whether you work with 10 spirits, it doesn't matter whether you work with this or with that, it doesn't matter whether you have a magical technique that is very powerful, you have a spirit that is exceptionally skilled at what he or she does or it does. If you can't handle more energy that will see to the success of your goal, then, or you can't apply more energy based on your own personal spiritual limitations regarding energy intake and or output, then, or both, better said, or a combination thereof, then it doesn't matter what spirit you work with, it doesn't matter what spirit you work with, how many you work with, how skilled these spirits are. It doesn't matter if, simply put, the magical technique is, just as a matter of speaking, in a matter of speaking, is an absolute dunce. Like, is an absolute maroon or a rube in terms of getting you what you want. It doesn't, or the opposite, the adverse. No. So it does not matter. It literally does not matter. It can't be done because you simply can't. You don't adhere to the requirements that are needed to obtain better results. So the solution is obvious. You want better results as a practitioner, then you need to be better. Literally, get good. You need to simply be better. You need to be and do better. And then when you actually are better, you're more skilled, you're stronger as a magician, then you can work with literally the same spirit and you will see that you'll get much better results, because now you can take a lot more energy in and therefore put out a lot more energy, and that will lead to and more potent energy compared to before, and that will lead to better results that will manifest for you. I mean, yeah, I've had this in my practice since I was a beginner. Back in the day, like I said, my intuition told me, for example, with certain techniques to not bother, because I knew that, listen, I'm nowhere near strong enough as I currently am to be able to even remotely handle this. So if I had said no to that, let's just say I metaphorically told my intuition, it's okay, I still want to do this, I'm gonna do it, then again, it doesn't matter how magnificent the technique in question is. Like, for example, the pinnacle that I covered that can handle earthquakes. If I tried that like back in the day in 2017 when I was a beginner, I would have gotten little to nothing. I mean, I maybe would have like, not even a micro tremor, honestly. Not even a microscopic tremor. Nothing. And that's the whole problem. Because, like I said, my intuition told me that, don't bother. This stuff is way above your pay grade. And I was like, The reason I'm working with it now is because my intuition guides me towards it, other than the reasons I already mentioned in the content relating to the aforementioned example. But now based on my sheer strength, based on the fact that I'm the strongest in the world, I can do this kind of stuff. And even then, it takes quite a toll, to the point where I'm like, oh boy, it packs one hell of a punch. Obviously I can handle it, but it's still interesting to observe, and yet I can still do it. So imagine if I had tried it, if I was still stupid enough to try it back in the day, not only would nothing have happened, I seriously might have got my ass I might have seriously been knocked on my ass, honestly. Knocked and or put on my ass. Literally and figuratively, with all the negative consequences that follow, as is would be the case with any average magician or the average magician. So that is all, guys. Keep all of that stuff in mind, and until next time. Oh shit, sorry.